Front wheel with bolt-on axle installation. Use these steps to install a front wheel with a bolt-on axle. Depending on when your bike was manufactured, it is possible that you may receive a bike with either a front wheel with a bolt-on axle mechanism or a quick-release skewer mechanism. Remove the protective plates from the front wheel and inspect the axle. Front wheels with the bolt-on axle will come with pre-installed nuts on the axle. If you have this type of front wheel, proceed with the following steps. Front wheels with the quick-release mechanism will have a shorter through axle where the quick-release skewer is inserted. During assembly, be careful not to touch the brake rotor, which has sharp edges and can cause serious injury, and leave oils from your hand on the brake rotor, which can lead to diminished braking performance. Rest the front wheel on its side with the brake rotor facing up. Locate and remove the quick-release skewer that holds the fork on the fork protector plate. Open the lever, remove the thumb nut and cone spring on the opposite side, and remove the skewer. The fork and wheel protector plate packaging, including skewer, thumb nut, cone springs, and any spacers, are not used for the front wheel installation and can be recycled according to local rules. Fold up the kickstand and have a friend hold the bike upright and steady for the next few steps while you position and secure the wheel. Loosen the pre-installed axle nuts on the front wheel enough to fit in the fork dropouts, but do not remove them. If the front wheel comes with additional washers, position these against the axle nuts for installation. If there's a spacer between the brake pads and the front caliper, remove it now. With the help of a friend, carefully lift the front of the bike and lower the fork onto the wheel so that the brake rotor enters the caliper between the brake pads and the axle enters the fork dropouts fully. Pay attention to the brake rotor. It needs to slide between the brake pads. Once the rotor is between the brake pads, guide the fork onto the wheel so that the wheel axle enters the fork dropouts. If it's difficult to get the brake rotor between the brake pads, you may need to loosen the brake calipers slightly. Use an Allen wrench to widen the gap between the brake pads by turning the inner pad adjuster out counterclockwise 2 clicks. Stop after you feel 2 clicks or have turned the adjustment bolt 1/4 to 1/2 of a full rotation. When wheel installation is complete, you can turn the pad adjuster back in clockwise, if necessary, to ensure the brakes engage properly. Check that the wheel is fully seated in the fork dropouts on both sides, the wheel axle is level and parallel to the ground, and that the wheel is centered. Use the 15mm wrench to tighten the axle nuts on both sides of the fork until secure. If the front wheel comes with additional washers, make sure they are positioned against the axle nuts before tightening. Use a torque wrench with a 15mm socket head or crowfoot bit to torque the axle nuts to the value specified in your owner's manual. Test your front wheel installation. Check that the same amount of dropout is visible under the axle on both sides of the fork. If there's a difference, your axle is not fully inserted into both dropouts, and you'll need to repeat the previous steps. If the axle is fully seated, perform the following tests. With your friend holding the front of the bike off the ground, spin the front wheel to ensure it has no wobble or looseness. Second, while straddling the bike with your hands on the handlebars, squeeze the front brake lever with your left hand. Rock the bike forward and backward and ensure the front brake is securely keeping the front wheel from turning and that there's no play or wiggle in the wheel, handlebars, or front fork. Any sign of play or wiggle is a sign that you may not have properly secured the front wheel, and you should repeat the installation process. Perform these tests before every ride. Work through the safety checklist in the owner's manual and test the bike fully before riding. Never let anyone operate this bike unless they are at least 16 years old and have read the operating instructions detailed in the owner's manual. The age requirement for e-bikes may be older than 16 in your area. Check your local laws and rules for the areas you intend to ride. Whenever you ride, wear closed-toe shoes. comfortable clothing, and of course, a helmet. Make sure you can be seen by others on the road by wearing bright and reflective clothing and ensuring your headlight and taillight are always on and visible to others. Like all vehicles, e-bikes need to be checked regularly to ensure nothing will jeopardize your safety or the safety of those around you. Follow all safety instructions and checklists in the owner's manual. The latest update to the owner's manual for your rad bike is always available on our website at radpowerbikes.com/help. Make it a habit to thoroughly check your bike before every ride. Reach out to our product support team if you have any questions, and ride rad!